Hi everyone, this is Monica. Today in my Bible journal, I journaled Psalm 98, verse 6. With trumpets and the sound of the horn, make a joyful noise before the King, the Lord. This Bible journaling entry was in response to a Bible journal art challenge by Rebekah R. Jones. I will link her channel as well as the Bible journaling challenge video below. So here's what I did in my Bible today. I started out by drawing in with pencil the shape of a French horn. I was working with my computer open next to me with a picture of a French horn as well as a trumpet, which helped me get the general shape of the French horn onto the page, helped me know all the parts and pieces that make up the French horn. You could also print out the silhouette of a French horn, or if you had a stamp of a French horn, you could use that as well. I just enjoy the process of sketching in my Bible. As I'm sketching, I'm thinking about that verse about making a joyful noise to the Lord. And if I'm honest, the day that I viewed Rebekah's Bible journaling challenge was not a good day for me. It was a difficult day. We all have those difficult days, and the thought of making a joyful noise unto the Lord that day was not something that came very easy to me. And it actually took me a couple days to come back to the challenge and complete it. But one thing that hit me about this scripture is that it is actually a command to make a joyful noise. Working on finishing up the mouthpiece of the French horn, and then I'm going into the trumpet now. In general, the shape of the trumpet, the way that I saw it, was kind of an oval, stretched out. I went ahead and added the mouthpiece in first, which I'll erase and fix later, as you will see. But that's the beauty of using pencil, drawing lightly. It's really important to me when I journal that I can still read the words of the scripture that are sort of in the background of the picture that I'm drawing. I want to be able to go back and read Psalm 98 and Psalm 99 on this page without anything obstructing any of the words, any of the text. So I just fixed the mouthpiece of the trumpet, sketching, erasing as I go. Some parts I'm leaving off, so if you're a French horn player, trumpet player, you can give me grace. Some parts and pieces are missing, but just getting the general idea. I'm now picking up one of my PITT artist pens by Faber-Castell. It's the brush tip kind. The color is green gold, but I thought it would work just perfectly as a nice light outline of these brass instruments. So I'm just going over my pencil marks here, and my goal is to just get an outline of the French horn and of the trumpet so that I can work on coloring them in later, adding shadows, adding shading. But for now, just getting the basic outline. And going back, erasing my pencil marks. And you'll see even just the process of erasing your pencil marks can really neaten up your image. Moving down into the trumpet now. Again, as I'm outlining these, I'm really meditating on that scripture, making a joyful noise unto the Lord. I love that word noise because it tells me it's not perfection. It's not compose a perfect symphony unto the Lord. It's just make a joyful noise. Just tell him of your love. Sing using the voice that he gave you. Use instruments that you have on hand. Now that I've erased all my pencil marks, I'm going to move on to the text that I want included. Make a joyful noise. starting with the words that in my mind are not as emphasized, and then ending with the word joyful, which I feel like was really something I was striving for during those couple days when I found this Bible challenge. Like I said, it wasn't an easy day for me, but that word joyful really resonated with me. A great resource that I have found for creative ways to write cursive letters, especially for the capital letter at the beginning of a word, is just Google. I Googled cursive J and then copied and adapted one that I really liked. I'm going over it a second time here, adding some thickness in some areas, keeping the lines thin in other areas. Again, I want the word joyful to really be quite striking when it's finished. And I'm pulling out, these are my PITT Artist pens by Faber-Castell, not the brush tip, just the normal black pen. And I believe I'm using the fine point here. And I'm only outlining the word joyful. I'm writing all the other words completely, but only outlining the word joyful. I'll come back with a brush pen later to fill that in, but I have found lately that my brush pens do tend to bleed through every once in a while these pens do not. So I'm going to save the brush pen work for use after I've added somewhat of a page preparation that's coming up here. So for my page preparation, I'm actually just using some gold acrylic paint from IKEA. It's really, really translucent, so I'm using it dry. I'm not even going to add water. I'm just going to use a dry brush, which also came from IKEA. Here you can see I'm erasing every last bit of pencil that was there, because once I put this gold paint over it, any pencil that's underneath it would be extremely hard to get rid of. So I'm just doing a really thin coat from edge to edge, and I decided to just go ahead and make the entire page gold, just to really bring out that sense of joy that we can have in God's presence. Even on those days that are difficult for us, we can rest in the joy of the Father. He loves us. I'm using my hair dryer here. It's just the cheapest hair dryer, and doing just a quick application of warm air to dry it out. Now that my page is nice and dry, I'm going in with another PITT Artist pen. It's a brush tip. The color is Indian red, and again, I'm not having to worry about this dark color bleeding through too much because of the gold paint that I've applied to the page. The pen is going to actually sit on top of that paint, even though it's quite a thin layer. And I do apologize for the glowing gold reflection on the page. I'll have some pictures at the end of what it looks like when it's not glowing in your face. I didn't have a hard time working on it, but I did notice that the camera was picking up quite a glare, so my apologies for that. Going through and adding these darker spots, I'm not really doing a full outline, I'm just looking for the places where there's a reflection of something dark on the brass. So sometimes it's along the edge, sometimes it's along the middle, but this begins to give these horns a little bit of definition. Checking the back of my page. No bleeding through at all, some ghosting, which is normal on a Bible page. Getting back to that word joyful, which I really want to emphasize, just thickening up those lines with this brush pen, also a Faber-Castell PITT Artist pen. The color is warm gray. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go back over with the same pen I used earlier. Now that the gold is sitting on top of the writing, it does kind of take the vibrance away from the ink, so it's important to cover it once again. I decided to go ahead and pull out my watercolors to add the rest of the light spots and dark spots to the horns. I'm sorry this is so difficult to see. I'm starting with white and just touching those areas where the light is hitting the brass and reflecting so brightly that it looks white. I love painting and coloring things that are shiny. I think it's a real challenge to find where the light spots are, where the dark spots are. Sometimes you find very interesting colors reflected in glass or metal, things of beauty. Just finishing out with some little areas of light here. Again, being careful to make sure that I'm not doing anything with my watercolors that is so opaque that it would cover up the letters on the page. I'm now creating kind of the brass color that's going to be the main body of these horns, and going back and just filling in almost all areas that were not touched by that reddish pen or the white watercolor, kind of filling in a lot of the horn while still leaving some spaces to let that gold background seep through. But this is definitely the color that I chose, which covers the majority of these horns. And in just a minute I'll go back with a darker color just to re-emphasize the spots where the horn is actually reflecting darker colors from around it. This is such a nice time to spend with the Lord, to spend praying, to spend listening, to just sit in His presence, listen to worship music, listen to a sermon, just enjoy being quiet before the Lord, being still, letting everything else fade away. Now that the watercolor portion is finished, I'm just kind of giving it a quick blow dry. And then I picked up one more artist brush pen. The color is cold gray, and what I'm doing is just adding a shadow of sorts around the horn. I feel like in this picture the light source is coming from the upper left, so my dark shadow around the edges is going to the lower right sides of all the parts of this horn. And this just really helped it to stand out on the page. Dating my work. And there's the finished product. Like I said, from this angle it's not so flashy gold. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I did in my journaling Bible today. Again, thank you to Rebekah R. Jones for the journaling challenge from Psalm 98. Make a joyful noise.